You are watching a brand new Sports Feuzion episode. My name is Alex Fuse. We have a big show for you tonight. We have an interview with Mr. Goslowski. He works over at 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio here in upstate New York. So, Thomas, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So, let me ask you, what is your favorite part of your job there at 104.5 The Team?
Well, my favorite part of my job is tracking down the guests and finding people to interview. It's one of the roles of the producer, and even good hosts will do that too. They'll track down guests, and I've had the opportunity to talk to people on the national level, people like Adam Schefter and Dick Vitale, and the regional level, people with college basketball and baseball, local level. So I love trying to find people. It's almost like trying to solve a crime sometimes. What's the best way to contact, who to contact. So, and then finally getting a chance, an opportunity to talk to them and learn about whether it's their respective sport, whether it's how they got into the business, getting to know them as a person. So finding guests for the show and actually getting the chance to talk to different people in sports is definitely my favorite part of the job. So
what, in your mind, was the biggest interview you've had, and why?
I'd say it's two of them. The two biggest interviews I've had, when I was hosting the morning drive in Syracuse, New York, my biggest interview was Bobby Bowden, the legendary Florida State football coach. He was very nice to us on the air. He talked about his experiences, one of the great college football coaches of all time, his battles against Syracuse. It actually surprised me. He talked about how he had never met Jameis Winston before, and that was right around when Jameis Winston was getting ready to win the Heisman Trophy. So getting to interview Bobby Bowden was a thrill. One of my best face-to-face, one-on-one interview I ever did was Floyd Mayweather Jr.
Wow.
He doesn't do a lot of interviews. He doesn't really talk to a lot of people, just one-on-one. And I was at the Turning Stone Casino for Showtime Boxing for his promotion. And that night he had announced he was going to fight Marcos Maidana in an upcoming fight. I was there. I was working for the CBS Sports affiliate. CBS Sports is partners with Showtime. Floyd Mayweather only did 2 interviews that night. He did the interview live on the Showtime broadcast and took time out of his day to talk to me. So Bobby Bowden over the phone and Floyd Mayweather Jr. one-on-one face-to-face are my 2 biggest people I've ever had a chance to interview.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had Ken Rosenthal on my show about a month ago, so that was a big interview for me.
And you have Tom Goslowski right now, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's a big show right now. So let me ask you, how did you start out in this career?
My first job in media, I did some things in college. I was a college football player, so I was going to school at Hobart. I got a chance to do broadcasting for WEOS and WHWS 104.9 there in Geneva. And then I get to host my own afternoon drive show. I got to do a lot of great things in college, but my first paychecks when I was getting paid was I started actually off as a promo tech. And that's the best advice to give some younger people, too. A promo tech is the person you would see at a concert, if it's a rock station or a top 40 station or classic rock or even for a sports station at the events. And they're the people who set up tents. They're the people who set up the signs and check people's tickets, give away the prizes. That was my first job out of college in media, was working as a promo tech. And promotion tech, I worked my way up from there to producer and then fill-in host and then post-game show host for Syracuse football basketball, morning drive, and then I got hired out here in Albany. So my first job was a promo tech getting paid, but I'd always had an inkling I wanted to get into broadcasting.
And do you have a favorite sport?
A favorite sport? Football, yeah, I still think football. I love watching the NFL. The NFL is my favorite sport to watch. I grew up as a Pop Warner football player, worked all my way up to high school and then college. So football is definitely my favorite sport. I love watching college basketball. It's a great time now to watch March Madness. March Madness is my favorite sport and event, but I still say I'm a pretty big football fan. Still love football, baseball, basketball, the fight game, UFC and boxing and horse racing. I try to broaden everything, but I still say the NFL and college football are tops for me.
And the free agent or the off-season started for the NFL yesterday. So do you see any surprising or shocking signings? I know we saw a big day yesterday. Do you see any other shocking surprises for the signings this offseason for the NFL?
I know he's a good player, but Olivier Vernon, the player the Giants picked up, getting in one of the biggest defensive end contracts in history, is now making more guaranteed money than J.J. Watt. That just that alone surprising to me. I know he's a good player, but he's been in the league for 4 seasons, 29 sacks, but he's only had 1 season with double-digit sacks. So to kind of go out and get a 25-year-old that much money that was really surprising to me. I know there was talk of whether or not Brock Osweiler was going to decide to come back to Denver. He's going to Houston. That's a bit surprising. But I think there's some more surprises to come. Still a lot of really good free agents out on the market. We'll see where some of these guys end up. Ryan Fitzpatrick's still a question mark where he may go. The running backs, it'd be interesting to see where some of those guys move as well. But there's still going to be a lot. But I still say that Olivier Vernon move to the New York Giants, bringing in with so much money overall, is the biggest surprise to me.
And do you have a favorite team in baseball?
My favorite team, it's an interesting story. I grew up in central New York, so usually that's right around the area where there's Yankees and Mets fans, but I'm actually a Baltimore Orioles fan.
Interesting.
The first stadium I went to as a kid was Camden Yards. I absolutely fell in love. I'd recommend anybody, whether you're an Orioles fan or not, to check out that beautiful ballpark. And once I went to Camden Yards for the first time, I fell in love with it. So I've been a Baltimore Oriole fan ever since. Some early 2000s, it was tough to admit that, but they've had some success in the last couple of years. So I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan.
And let's switch gears. Let's talk a little baseball now. Spring training started a few weeks ago, and the Yankees actually took on the Orioles today. And I believe they ended the game in a tie, 4-4. And do you see the Orioles being a contender for the American League East Division title this year, or do you think it's going to be a few years?
No, I think it's going to be close. The Orioles should be in contention until about August. Will they be able to get by the Blue Jays and Yankees and Red Sox? I'm not ready to say the Orioles are a playoff contender yet, but they're going to be in contention. The AL East is going to be close. The issue with the Orioles is if they can play any bit of defense. They can hit home runs. There's no doubt about that. They brought in Pedro Alvarez the other day. Chris Davis can hit home runs. Manny Machado. The lineup is just loaded with guys who can crush the ball out of the ballpark. I wouldn't be surprised if they have more home runs than the Blue Jays this season, but there is a second part of baseball, and you have to at least have guys in the outfield who can make plays and guys in that infield. When there's tough ground balls you got to make plays on and turn them double plays. Defensively, I just don't think the Orioles have it. And for years, it's been a question of how deep can the starting pitching go. I think teams like the Red Sox and the Yankees have better pitchers on their staffs. Yankees got a solid bullpen. Red Sox made a move for David Price. Blue Jays had it was like a beer league softball offense last year. The Orioles are going to be better if everyone stays healthy, but I don't think defensively they're going to have enough to at least get into the playoffs through the AL East.
And like you just said, you talked about the Yankees and them having a solid bullpen. Do you think the suspension to Chapman, the closer for the Yankees for 30 days, will hurt him in the long run and could potentially maybe not have him be that much of a potential do that great after in May, after he comes back after his suspension?
If he was a starter, I would say yes, but because he's a guy coming out of the bullpen, he might only have to throw maybe max 5 to 6 innings. He should be okay. Aroldis Chapman, when he was back in the minor leagues and he was playing for Louisville Bats, I remember I had broadcasters tell me they were concerned about his future in Major League Baseball back in 2010 because at that time he was a starter and he couldn't find the plate. He lost control because he was throwing it so hard. But now that his role as bullpen, he's had a few years under his belt where he's been able to come out of the pen and throw over 100 miles an hour, and he's going to come back in May. I don't think it's going to affect him when we look back on the season. I think June, July, August, September, when teams go after pennant championships and division titles, if our oldest Chapman can get back in the mix there and Joe Girardi can figure out a rotation for when he can get out there, most likely he's going to be throwing that 9th inning. He'll be just fine. He'll bounce back. And remember, it's not an injury. It's just a suspension. If we had Aroldis Chapman coming off an injury, it might be a different story. But I think Aroldis Chapman will be fine for the Yankees this season.
Okay, Thomas, I want to say thank you, and thank you for also taking the time out of your schedule for coming on this Sports Fusion episode.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching this big Sports Fusion episode. Once again, I want to say thank you for Thomas for coming on tonight's show, and I want you to go back, watch all my other episodes, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and I want you to log on to sportsfusion.com and to purchase this amazingly comfortable sports Feuzion t-shirt, and it has the hashtag FuseNation right on the back of the t-shirt. $20 each, $5 for shipping and handling. And you can find me on Twitter at sports_Feuzion. And I will see you on Monday. Thanks for watching.